just to repeat, my name is Andrew Martin. I am the group publisher at Asia Online Publishing Group. We're a Malaysia-based tech news publication house. We have publications like Cybersecurity ASEAN, Disruptive Tech Asia. Those are a couple of the ones that our team work on. So we're talking about technology day in, day out. Obviously, you've had the title of today's discussion already given to you, and we're going to be talking about how cloud and cloud computing can accelerate digital transformation. You know, I know going back a few years ago now, I remember talking about like 6 or 7 years ago, speaking to people, particularly in the government space, about cloud computing, and they were like, no, we will never be moving our applications onto cloud. It's not safe. And you know, there was a debate about whether we should move to cloud. That debate obviously finished a long time ago. There's no debate about moving to cloud, but moving to cloud the right way and getting the benefits that you really want to materialize from cloud is still not such a simple thing to do. And a lot of people go through a cloud journey and hit a lot of brick walls along the way. So we're kind of lucky today that we've got 4 people all with different challenges, different stages in their journeys on cloud, and looking at how they're using cloud to then effect transformation. And we're going to have a little chat about that today. So, in fact, we kind of already had the chat outside, but we're going to repeat that chat now. So I'm going to start actually with you, Moaz, because I know that you've kind of been going through part of this journey on the cloud side, and you kindly offered to share that with us as a starting point to our conversation today.
Thank you, Andrew. Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. So, the cloud transformation journey at Ingress, we started the cloud transformation journey 4 years ago. And during that time, we were running our servers, our SAN storage, our ERPs, core applications, 100% on-premise. So we faced a lot of problems during that time, challenges. The first problem was the servers itself. We were running old servers. Some of the servers were approaching end of life cycle. And then we have to spend a high contract maintenance as well on maintaining the servers. And then our IT teams also are struggling. They are always doing firefighting all day long. They are looking at incidents all the time. So they don't have time to be more proactive, to innovate themselves, to produce more value tasks, value work for the customers. So they're always firefighting with incidents. And then we have challenge on the compliance as well, because we are required to have a DR. So at that time, building a DR is not cheap, you know, it's expensive. It's like building a new data center. So we've been holding on that compliance DR for quite some time. And then, so I said, my God, to convert, to make this transformation is a challenge there. So when I we did a presentation for the stakeholders at Ingress. You know, manufacturing company, you know, they're a bit old school, a bit traditional, the mindset at that time. So I told them that to stay competitive, to stay relevant in the rapid growth of the automation on the automotive landscape, you have to adopt cloud. So they buy that. So only two concerns the stakeholders got back to me was the security of the data and also the cost. Obviously, there was cost. So I told them the security, where the cloud providers provides are more robust than what the security that we have in-house. So they buy in for that. But cost is interesting. We managed to do a lot of savings there. On the CapEx part, we managed to save 70% of the CapEx item when we did the cloud transformation, the cloud migration. The OPEX part, 45% savings we managed to deliver. So when we did the migration, obviously I have to settle the problems first. The most important task was the connectivity. So coming from the manufacturing environment, we have factories all around the country. The connectivity was, we are on a lease line connection, 2 Met line, we even have a 2 Met line lease line, a 4 Met line lease line at that time. I said, my God, how am I going to do cloud connection with a 2 Met lease line? And then we are on a traditional MPLS connection. So I did a bold decision with the IT teams, telling them, can we move everything to VPN, IPsec connection? I said, can, but you have to upgrade this internet speed. Okay, fine. So we did a discussion with the telco providers, have a good deal in upgrading our connection from a 2 Meg line, 4 Meg line to a 50 Meg, even a 100 Meg lease line. We got a good speed upgrade. And then all our core applications, our ERP systems, our supply chain systems, everything were connected to that lease line because we have a bind SLA towards that. So our secondary line was focusing on the high-speed internet, the 800 meg high-speed broadband internet. I would like to praise also to the telco providers for having a good coverage around our factory areas. So now we have a good connection part. So ensuring we have a good connection speed to our for our factory lines, our supply chain and enterprise system was key. So once we fixed the internet connection, then the timeline for the migration went smoothly. And then the benefits the benefits we achieved, a part of agility, scalability, all those stuff. Our IT teams have suddenly no work. The IT teams suddenly no longer firefighting anymore. It was a period of quietness. They have no tasks at that time. They were the impact of the cloud transformation really solves their burden pain there. And we also managed to comply our 100% compliance for DR. From no DR, suddenly we have a DR center that is really we managed to comply with our industry regulations on that. Yeah.
So thank you for that. It's interesting because I speak to a lot of companies on both sides of the fence, vendors and users of IT that do the cloud migration. And one of the things you said that really resonates is I've been told that just the process of going through your on-prem setup and working out what you've got and what you've got to change, even if you didn't then do the cloud migration, you would probably make a lot of savings of things you turn off and switch off and don't need anymore, because that actual process forces you to do that. Mers, I know that you're in a slightly different situation in your cloud journey, right? So maybe not as far along as Moaz, but do you want to tell us the challenges that you're facing?
Assalamualaikum and good morning. I'm from KWAP, not KWSP. Some of you may get confused between us. So we are actually the pension fund for the government retirees, but we do the fund investment just like KWSP, though our fund is not nearly as big as KWSP's fund. Okay, so enough about KWAP. So about the cloud journey, well, prior to joining Corp, I think some of you may have seen me elsewhere. I was wearing the MRT Corp IT hat at that time. So in Corp, prior to the pandemic, they have already started that cloud roadmap, cloud adoption roadmap. But back then it was called data center rationalization project, which is similar to what Muaz has gone through. But because when the pandemic came, so it was put to a halt. And only last year we revived that. So we are at the moment establishing our cloud governance framework. So because being a government organization, I mean, we have to be careful about what we do, and we want to make sure that it is guided by the right principles. But what we have adopted is, I think, like most of organizations have, is for collaboration tools. Either you are on Google Workspace or Office 365. So, and even prior to joining QAP, my inclination as far as adopting cloud is always about going with SaaS, software as a service. Because back in MRT Corp, we adopted cloud. I can say that we adopted cloud as early as 2013 with Google Apps back then, they call it. So I know enjoyed what Muaz had mentioned earlier. When we moved from on-premise Microsoft Exchange to Google Cloud, Google Apps. The first weekend is the weekend where I never get any email about email quota full, or mail stuck at the mail marshal filtering, or attachment too big. So back then, I've already sort of got I was sold, cloud is the way to go. So in QAP right now, what we're doing is we're establishing our cloud governance framework, and later on we will be looking into, because one side is our pillars. We have two pillars: investment as well as pension services. So when it comes to pension services, we are only the data custodian, because the data owner is the Public Services Department, or JPA, and that is government data. And talking about PII of government servants or government retirees. So we have to comply with the requirements set by MAMPU as well as the CGSO, or Chief Government Security Office, and under the National Security Council. So these are the things that we are, the constraints that we will have to work with, but we do understand that they are there for the right reasons. So that's where I think that's probably enough for now.
Yeah, and I guess that would be typical of other departments as well in government, that the decision-making process to get there takes longer. Ajay, I'd like to bring you in, because Moaz was talking about the challenge of cloud transformation. But cloud transformation, I guess, is a means to an end. So I'm going to put it to you this way. Would you say that cloud transformation is somewhat different from digitalization and actual digital transformation? And what would you say the differences are?
First, good morning to everyone. Thanks for the question, Andrew. So I'll give you the answer in context of how we did things at POS, right? And I think the problem statements mentioned by my colleagues here, it's very much the problem statement of majority of the companies that we have, and I think I resonate a lot with your problem statements as well, given that we have about 1,000 branches and networking and all of that. So for us, the way we see it, digitalization is a bigger picture where you want to move your businesses to a more digital front. Because the customers of today are no longer the customers who would walk up to a retail store outlet, a traditional retail outlet, like they used to 20 years back. Now, a lot of the younger generation, they are very tech aware, they're tech savvy, and they want their services on their phones, right? And as such, digitalization is the part which helps your business to move from a traditional role to a more, allows you to open your business on the internet, right? That's part of digitalization. You can achieve that with n number of means. You can achieve that by setting up servers at your home, setting up servers in your office, having a co-location, having public cloud. Cloud transformation is one of the things that allows you to scale a lot more easily and plan for high availabilities and plan for events across your ecosystem in a more cost-effective, a lot more agile manner, without having to, plan 6 months ahead that you need to buy a new hardware, a new server if you're going to do a RIA event. So the way I see it, digitalization is what brings you to the internet. Cloud transformation is what enables you to compete in that market. So very simple example, your commerce that we used to have, your retail store outlets back in 20 years back, you had to walk into a Puma store to buy a Puma shoe, right? Now, digitalization brought it to the e-commerce platform. And it's the cloud transformation that allows you to run the level 11 RIA sales and other sales across seamlessly every single month.
Yeah, agreed. And Izzudin, I'll come to you in a second, but I know that Moaz had something to say about this as well, because I think when we were discussing things, you made the point of saying, we've kind of done our cloud transformation, now I've got to think about digitalization. So what did you mean by that?
Yes, we just some companies they might do it together, some may separate it. Like how we did, we just managed to fix our backbone first. So now we have a good backbone that is on the cloud. So the next phase for our journey is the digital transformation. That one will involve apps. That one's more focused on applications. So at Ingress, being a manufacturing company, we also embrace the Industry 4.0, the revolution Industry 4.0. So now we have completed the first pillar, the cloud computing pillars. So the next pillars is the big data, IoT, advanced robotics. That one will come with all the data aspects, you see. So if you notice nowadays organization, they have digital divisions nowadays, you know. Like at Ingress, we don't have that yet. We are still doing this transformation. It's a journey for us. You know, some companies now, you know, you have, like Mirza here, he's the chief digital officer. Some people, they have their head of digital strategy. So they form a division in their organization to drive this digitalization journey. So it has to be, it's a big change. It's a different ballgame compared to the cloud transformation. That's your first step towards digital transformation. So because it involves the people, the process, and the technology has to be married together. And also the digital transformation has to start from the top level to down, because it's a whole change. It's a culture change. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, and that I think the top level down is really important. If it doesn't have the buy-in from the top, you're going to have problems all the way. But I wanted to just go back into specifics of cloud actually a little bit more, because obviously you have options in terms of the clouds that you can use, and there are pluses and minuses for each. And Izzudin, I know when we were speaking before, you were quite happy to talk about one of your actual public cloud choices. So would you want to share some of that with us?
Okay, all right. Thank you, Andrew. Assalamualaikum and good morning. Okay, so I'm Izzudin. Now basically I'm attached to a subsidiary of one of the GLC in Malaysia. So basically, if talking about cloud, we have a multi-cloud strategy. And actually, we are very lucky because cloud is part of the digital transformation journey. We have this like a question. During the digital transformation, where do you want to put your data? So it's easy. The answer is easy. Cloud. Okay, then when we have multi-cloud strategy, so I'm happily to share that when a subsidiary basically is about, the game is about P&L and of course the cost. So when we are looking for a cloud, of course we are looking for something that when you have a cloud, you can put data in your cloud and you can have so many initiatives. It's like a zero cost thingy, because you need to have tools, cloud tools, cloud solution. And one of the cloud that we are using is GCP, Google Cloud Platform. And why I'm happy to share today, because when we implement the Google Cloud Platform, remember just now I shared about the digital transformation journey. Okay, to answer the first question, where you want to put your data. So when we said that you want to put it on the cloud, and when we pick Google Cloud Platform, you can just imagine how you want to capture this data. So imagine you are in a small, medium business, SME. You can just simply use Google Form, right, to capture data. And this Google Form, the data can simply put on the Google Sheets. It's freely there. And then you may have heard Power BI, Mr. Intelligence Platform, and actually Google also offer free data visualization, that is Data Studio. So all your data from Google Forms or your Google Sheet, you can just use using Data Studio just to represent your data, and you can have a very nice dashboards. So this minimal effort actually already answered some part of our digital transformation journey. So it's just that, okay, once you have a cloud, actually we can measure the success by knowing that the data is secured somewhere. You can pull any data, so you can massage the data and display the data in a very nice visualization.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And the discussion about ROI, I know, is really important. Again, we were all chatting outside, and everyone said that if the executive and the board don't see hard ROI, cloud transformation, digital transformation is not going to happen. And understanding how your cloud operates and how it bills is very important in understanding whether you're going to get that ROI. So the free tools may be great, but if you're being charged for the data you upload into those free tools, it may not be so great. So it's understanding that. So I wanted to actually come back to you all on this ROI question because we've even interviewed people, our editorial team, that have gone like full journey. They actually moved almost everything to cloud, and now they're moving stuff back onto premise. So, is it a given that you will see ROI if you move to cloud? And anyone want to jump in and answer first? I can see Ajay he's ready. He's ready to go. So
I'll take that one because we've been through the journey quite some time, right? So one of the things that is, to answer this question, I'll take a step back. So it comes from the time of when you plan to migrate, right? One of the key things that you need to do, and this comes from experience of migrating two different companies all over to cloud, is you need to spend time in evaluation. And you need to calculate your proper TCO before you make a viable business case for cloud migration. And in order to do that, you need to tie in everything. You need to tie in your infrastructure, your operations, your people, your business objectives, and governance, etc. Right? So once you have all of this tied in, that gives you a much clearer picture of what difference in TCO you're expecting in terms of cost, right? It also, as you mentioned earlier in the discussion, it also helps you evaluate which application do you really need to move to cloud. It might not be that 100% of your ecosystem needs to move. A lot of the companies, in my experience, what they end up with is a hybrid cloud setup, where your critical applications and business applications with high business value, you plan to move them across to cloud, and the applications, mostly like the internal applications that you have for ticketing, etc., you keep them on premise because there's no high ROI on putting in that effort, right? And then you plan your cloud transformation journey. Blindly lifting and shifting is not the way to go, right? Because at the end of the day, as soon as you move to cloud, you have infrastructure available at a click. Now, when you have an option like that, it's easy to get spoiled and start setting up things, start trying things out, and not have a proper governance in place to shut it down, to optimize your cost at a regular period, to have a proper governance in place to make sure that everything that you set up is compliant to the internal regulations, to external regulations that may apply to your company, right? So for me, it's about two key parameters. One is, have you spent enough time and have you done a detailed enough analysis before you did your migration? And once you completed your migration, do you have a clear governance policy? Do you know how your operations are supposed to run? And are you doing regular cost optimization efforts? If you have these two in place, I think you'd be able to utilize your cloud potential to the maximum.
Excellent, thank you. Do you have a view on this, on the ROI?
Yeah, I think like when answering about return on investment, because it's very depend on the strategy and also what is the real objective of the transformation. But have you all heard about ROTI, ROTI? ROTI is like return on time invested, and also ROV, return on investment. When your board asking about ROI, because ROI, when you spend, especially in technology, actually it's a very long-term ROI. You cannot have like return on investment next month or next 3 months or next year. But what about the time invested and also the value? You need to also translate when you invest, especially on clouds and digital transformation. What about the value you created? Like just now I mentioned about GCP, Google Cloud Platform. Google Cloud Platform also offer like app sheets, right? App sheets, a no-code apps. You can like anybody now can develop a system without you are having a programmer. So the time investor, the value you get from implementing cloud, actually you also need to calculate that because return on investment it could be like I don't know in 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, and you may get returns that, particularly with low code, that you may get returns that you didn't even predict. But Mers, it looks like you have something to add.
Yeah, I think back then when there was talk about going to cloud because of cost. But now I think that conversation is no longer relevant. When we're moving to cloud, it's not so much about ROI or about saving costs. It was, there was a vendor that came to me and said that was one of the biggest lie ever told in the industry so far. You know, okay. So in our case, it's back to the strategy. It's just that we want to build new capabilities. We want to build our data analytical capabilities. We want to build our on the investment side as well as on the pension services. We want to build we want to provide that scalability because you know as the number of government pensioners increase, their life expectancy also longer, and then there will be more services that the government want to provide to them. And as our generation of government workers become government retirees in the next 5, 10, 15 years, so that demand will increase hugely. You know, so we need to prepare that platform, that capability. So for us, it's more of what are the capabilities that we want to provide. And yeah, cost is a factor to consider, but as long as I can get my board to approve, I'm okay. It's not so much on ROI. So again, it's what's the underlying strategy of why you want to go to cloud? What are the capabilities that you want to build that you never had before? Another angle that we are looking at is also retention of skilled workers, because in the investment industry, even in the pension services like retirement care, the welfare of the aging population. So these are very niche, sectors, and we need to retain skilled employees. And one of the ways to retain skilled resources will be to provide the technology, the digital capabilities that they are hungry for, because they would easily go elsewhere because it's a niche market. So we want to retain this. So that's also another capability that we're looking at the strategic level. Hence, we move cloud as one of the platform to allow that digital capabilities that we want to build.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, and I do agree with you, but I also take what Ajit said before, which is still understanding how each cloud bills and charges you could affect your decision about how you then and where you implement. Muaz, do you have anything to add on the ROI question? I mean, I know you mentioned you made massive ROI savings, but do you anything you want to add before we move on to a different topic?
At the moment, we managed to achieve that. For us at Ingress, we achieved that cost optimization during the initial stage for the cloud journey, because dealing with old hardware, as you see, if you want to do a tech refresh, you want to do an upfront cost for new servers is very high. So moving towards OPEX model, you can do the cloud transformation at the whole package there, with all the compliance requirement you require. That one, it saved us a lot. Yeah, we saved a lot.
Yeah, but I know you were saying before, into the future, you'll have to see how that rolls out. So I'm going to move on a little bit. One of the things that people often tell us that makes it harder for them to start that cloud journey is when they're tied to legacy, particularly like monolithic legacy applications. And so I wanted to know if that was a particular problem for any of you guys, because you know, when you've got greenfield, new applications starting from scratch, so easy to put them on cloud. But when you've got something that's, you know, born in an era from many, many years ago, it's more difficult. So Mers, I was going to come to you first and then AJ come to you. So did you have a view on this? Because I guess in where you are now, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you've got some legacy stuff and legacy applications.
In our case, yes, for the pension services, because we inherited a system that was developed by JPA in the last decade. Sounds very long, but anyway, again, yeah, we are maintaining like a traditional application. You know, you have a database server, you have a application server, we have the data warehouse and all that, and as the size grows, it is becoming a challenge, and I do agree the cost is also increasing, especially maintaining this legacy hardware, legacy database system. And that's why when I came in, take a fresh look, and we want to develop a new system which is cloud-based. So the challenge is because the design is very traditional. So in that particular area, my decision, or what we decided, is to build a new one and eventually replace the existing one on-premise system. When it comes to on the investment side, because just a bit about investment, we are looking at different asset classes. You have equities, fixed income, we have private equity, and we have property investment. And each of these would have their own sub types of asset classes. I mean, if you're in the investment industry, you would know more. And the different asset class would require a different system to manage. And we have this front office, middle office, and back office processes. So that's another ball game. But what we see, the trend in the industry is that the providers of these systems, I mean, you talk about Bloomberg, BlackRock, you know, so you might know some of these, you know, Charles River, so these are the major players in the industry. So they would have different solutions for different part of the business, you know, the front, middle, and back office. And they are now beginning to offer SaaS versions of their solutions as well. So for me, what we are looking at is, if we want to stay with the same solution, but we will consider their SaaS offering, rather than move whatever we have on-prem to the cloud, because it will just add more complexity to it. Whereas if we just adopt the SaaS solution, it will make more sense. I mean, that's the situation we are in at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense. And Ajay, I know, again, from our chat earlier, you actually have some real world recent experience of the challenges of taking a legacy application and actually making it available on cloud. So do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I agree with the approach that you talked about right now. It's a very sound approach to move to a SaaS offering for cloud. Unfortunately, we had a few core systems, monolithic, the traditional legacy systems built about 5-6 years ago. Even the hardware was coming due refresh, right? And one of the challenges that we had with these legacy systems was the regular operational issues. And that's one of the biggest challenges that you have in a tech team, because then you're segregating everyone's time between trying to develop something new and then maintain what your existing systems are. And you can't ignore them, because these are core applications, right? It's essential for us to continue running our business smoothly. So the way we handled it was to improve our operational efficiency. So we migrated them to cloud, but the second step was not immediate modernization. The second step was improving our operational efficiency with monitoring, automation, as much automation as we could possibly put in, identifying areas which frequently fail, putting in automation to keep a very keen eye on it, and trying to find ways to solve it so that it does not occur again. It took us about 3 to 4 months to clean up that process, but that enabled us to reach a point where we could run our everyday operations almost seamlessly. I was really glad in the last vacation I went, I never got a call about the system going down, and that was one of the best achievements that we had in the past 6 months. Now, why was this critical is because as a company, the digital unit needs to maintain trust with business as well in order to continue operations, right? And the only way you maintain trust for building something new is if you can prove that the existing systems can still work. They might be due refresh, but you still need to make sure that your business keeps running without hindrance. And hence the approach of fixing it first and then talking about building new applications. Now we've built and launched about 5 to 6 different digital applications after moving to cloud, which have been completely cloud native. Now that is another part of our success story from the tech side, where we have upskilled our people to start building new cloud native platforms for our end customers. But we've also started now working on modernization of these legacy applications. Now modernization can be multiple ways you can approach it. You can choose to rebuild it completely from scratch, or you can start chipping it little by little. In the sense that first you identify the infrastructure, how is the hosting? Can you decouple it? Can you make it highly available? Because a legacy history of monolithic applications is they're not generally very high, friendly to HA setup, right? So identify the ways where you can decouple it. Probably decouple the database first. See which modules can you bring out, and then start bringing HA in between. Code level modernization is the end goal, right? Where you want to be able to rework it completely. But then again, it depends on a lot of factors, your business criticality, your time to go live that you have, the resources that you have, the investment that you have. You might decide to either re-platform it, or enhance the existing application or rebuild it. That's completely a strategic call on the company's end, right? But the most important thing for us was to make sure that our operational efficiency is on point.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. But I did pick up from both of your answers that invariably there's going to be some level of build that could be involved, particularly with those legacy applications. So we only have a few minutes left. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then you can see the clock ticking down. So we'll have to move fairly quickly on it. But based on a few things that people have said, you know, you were talking about app sheets and no code. You talked about rebuilding from scratch, and then you know. Moaz, you even spoke about after you moved to cloud, it's like, what does the IT department do now? So as you move from cloud transformation and you're starting to think about your digital transformation, do all companies need to become software development companies? I already know they disagree on this. So Izzuddin's in first. So.
All right, thank you. Some might not agree with what I'm going to say. But for me, actually, I think I like the idea that we need to change our mindset and get ready to become like a software company. You know what? Because like all the panels sharing just now, actually we are talking about digital. Everything is on digital now, online, and we are using softwares, right? And all the user interface of the application or the software, now we need to change into user experience. Because, for example, I just give an example, a very random example, like Airbnb. It is like, many people are saying it is a homestay business, right? But no, it's an online marketplace. They offer a digital platform. So actually it's a software. So the user experience, how to you use the app actually, how they develop the software so that when user use, the experience is very, very good for them. So that when you now, everything need to have, you need to have a digital platform. Because when I continue further my study with MIT Sloan, one of the main chapter actually, they teach us is actually to develop digital platform. In future, we need to have a digital platform because when we want to touch the customer, we need to have digital platforms. So when you want to have a digital platform, you need to change your mindset. So now you need to become like a software company because according to McKinsey, I think 70% of top successful company are from the software companies. Yeah, that's my take.
Thank you for that. But I'm gonna have to wrap it because we've only got a minute left. And I know that there's a networking session set up now. So if you want to hear the views of the other panelists on whether digitization and modernization is going to require you to become software companies, I think you can do it in the networking session coming up now. I think one thing that we know is that in terms of this dialogue, one thing that's obviously been clear is that cloud transformation is your first step, but it's obviously a very vital step. And because I've got the mic, I'll just say, I think you do all have to become software companies, but I know they don't agree with me. So you can...
Just a quick one, I disagree, but we'll elaborate that later.
Yeah, okay. But with that, I'd just like to thank everyone. Appreciate your time listening. Hope it was enjoyable and informative. And I'll pass back to the MC.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Martin, and of course our speakers as well. Now, yes, we have time for a selfie. The VP of Architecture and Cloud Transformation. Andrew Martin, the group publisher from Asia Online Publishing.